So can you tell us again exactly where you sort of got the idea for Bolanle and kind of how it started up?
Yes. So the way that I got the idea sparked, well, outside of all of the multiple events of 2020, how crazy that was, the multiple events that happened, George Floyd, and watching that officer on camera and just looking at him stare at the camera, like, what are you going to do about it? That definitely sparked anger within inside of me, where I knew that if I went out there and I protested in the streets, I don't know what sustainable like impact or change that would actually do. I didn't see it being something that that would, how would I explain this? I didn't think that would create much impact if I went out and did it. I wanted to play chess and not checkers. So I figured, what was the question again? My mind just went blank because I know we talked about this before.
Yeah, no. So the question itself was, what started the idea for Bolanle, and how were you starting to get that together?
Oh, yes. So the George Floyd situation, that definitely started it. And my friend Jeff, he made a post on a very popular Facebook group. And he said that if all of us spent $50 and we donated $50, then collectively we would have $80 million to disperse among 6 different key industries like real estate and pharmaceuticals and tech. And from there, it was like an aha moment. That's it. But let me see if people are actually really serious about making a change of wanting to do something, and we can, figure it out together. So from there, in the middle of the night on Facebook within this group, probably posted around midnight, I had made a survey and I wanted to see if people were willing to donate money, how much would they be willing to donate, to actually do something together and we can figure it out. Within 5 hours, because I woke up at 5 a.m. like I do every day, that's when I saw the polls and I was shocked because the few people that saw it in the middle of the night, it was a little over $15,000 a month and just reoccurring, money being donated to see something. And from there, not just with the money, but also with the beautiful feedback that I got from the people within the comments, that's when it was like, man, I got to do something. And then along the way, I met Audiche, who people will hear about, we'll see about later. But we've just been to work like since day one, since we met through this Facebook group. And this is like all I think about. Even the name itself, Bolanle, I'm a Nigerian American. So for me, I wanted something with meaning, and for us, we always talk about these disparities between Black and everyone else for that matter. But that name means finds wealth at home. So instead of looking for other people to come save us, we can help each other. We can empower each other. That's the better, more appropriate word. So that's why I chose the name Bolanle, because it means something and it's so powerful because wealth doesn't necessarily have to be money. Even your mindset and mental health, we could talk about all these different things such as money and making all this money and this reparations and all that good stuff. But just like as we all hear, when people win the lottery, they get all this money out of nowhere and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do, so everything starts in the mind. So if we can focus on that, then we can go to other areas.
I definitely agree with that, and like I was saying before, when definitely having that type of intention and that type of meaning inside of whatever business you're starting or whatever venture you're going into definitely helps you make sure you're committed to it. And obviously you're committed to this, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. But it creates something in your mind that tells me, okay, I have to make this something that lasts. And when you also have it set up in such a way where in the form, I look at Bolanle as a social justice organization, right? Like you guys are helping create the next Black Wall Street, right? In that, I feel like that is a form of social justice, and it's something that we don't often see, right? We don't often see businesses getting involved in this space. So with that said, you're not an average person. I'm gonna put that out there. You are a market mover. You are a market shaker, right? So, what was it like for you growing up from high school and beyond, being yourself?
So it was definitely interesting, and for high school for me, just because growing up with my father not being from this country, I'm first generation Nigerian. My dad, he came here. The area that I grew up, it was very predominantly white. I was the only chocolate girl at school, at church, in gymnastics, etc. That was the environment I grew up around. I will say that I definitely wanted to be around more kids that look just like me. So after a lot of convincing with my parents, I started with my mom and then worked my way to my dad. I ended up going to a public school in high school. And I will definitely say that it was a culture shock and it was very different just because the quote unquote world or the environment that I came from, I wasn't familiar with the issues of the Black community here in America, if that were to make
Mhm.
sense. Does it make sense?
No, it makes sense. I know a lot of
So,
people. I know a lot of our issues on the diaspora um, are very different than what
yes,
we may see in Africa.
yes. I mean, I wasn't used to seeing young women, getting pregnant and then, well, like, why is your dad in jail? Like, I had so many questions. I've always been a little kid, like I was a why baby, like why?
Yeah.
Still to this day, I'm always asking the question why. I will never assume that I know anything. If I don't know, I'm going to look it up. That's just what my dad always taught us. You don't know how to spell this? Go get the dictionary. He would make us have an electronic dictionary in our pockets. That's
I know that's
the
right.
yeah. So it was very different. I was definitely say like I was very conservative. I dressed a little bit differently. I was always nice to everyone. I think people were kind of like, why is this girl so nice? But
Like they felt like you were faking it for a little bit. I could see that. But people
yeah,
do that a lot. Like everything. That's just how the society we live in.
it's really
People aren't used to
sad.
niceness.
Whenever they say the golden rule, do unto others as you would have like, yourself. I take that to heart and that's always going to be me. It hasn't really changed. Um, I think things are very simple and people overcomplicate it.
I think that's real. That's very real. You know.
Mm.
But I'm sorry to cut you off. I know you're mid sentence.
No, you're good.
Okay. But yeah, so just like coming into America with all these questions, and not really knowing the black diaspora, right? What was it like for you? I don't know, navigating, advocating for change in that space in the diaspora and for Africa. Well, either
So
and for well, yeah, I don't know how to phrase that. I'm
no,
sorry.
you're good. I was born and raised here because my father he wanted us to be born here. My brother and I were on
Mhm.
his side of the family, we're the only two American born. The rest of my family is within Europe and Africa. But what the question is, what inspired me? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like what inspired you, and like how are you navigating this space, basically?
Let me see. What inspired me? I'm always inspired by so many different things, but for me, I know the doctors always say ADHD. That's apparently they say, "Oh, you have ADHD." I think it's like a gift. But I will say my mind, I'm always dreaming and I'm always trying to come up with solutions. That's just what it is. We hear about problems all the time, and for me, it's just kind of like, what's the solution? There has to be a way. There just
Yep.
has to be a way. That's the culture that I just have for myself. That's what I have with anyone on our team. We have to come up with solutions. That's what a Bolanle is about. We always hear all these different problems left and right. We have so much information. It's probably an abundance of information. And we're looking at the TV screen and all these statistics and all these facts. But what's the solution? So it's very solution based. And that's kind of where everything kind of sparked from and derived from. I'm tired of hearing about problems and I'm tired of people complaining about it. I'm tired of complaining about it. I want to see the solutions.
Right. Like I definitely feel that because me myself, I've always been a person of action. Um, I remember working as like an activist at a few youth orgs, and oftentimes we would sit around in roundtables and talk about just what our community or other communities might be facing, like what's going on in the community, how can we address it. But I was always wanting to focus on like, well, let's talk more about how we can address the problems we mentioned before we bring up other ones. I definitely feel being more action oriented and results oriented is better than being goal or let's say inquiry oriented.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to get anything solved if you're too busy, thinking about the issue rather than actually solving them.
Yeah.
Definitely
I
feel
mean,
that.
and I was thinking about what you just said, and something else that just comes to mind is to, I, I know many of us were dreamers, and we have this vision in our head of what we see, what a quote unquote perfect world is like, or what we think is perfect, or a dream to come to fruition. And then we always have to start with our why. Like, why are we doing this? What are we doing this for? And then from there, when you have that vision, and then we just work backwards, and then you just take those actionable steps to get to that end goal.
I feel that. I feel that. So with that said, having this whole solutions oriented mindset and being a doer, where did you get your start in business and where would you say you're now?
Hmm. I don't know if it's the Nigerian blood for my family. ah, oh, the hustle, the hustle. No, where? I don't know. This sounds really corny, but I don't know if it's just like the bloodline thing with Nigerians. I don't know if you're familiar with. Do you know anything about Nigerians?
I don't know much. I'm not even gonna front.
So like even whenever you go back to Nigeria, you'll see kids, they'll be in the market and everyone will be trying to sell you something and negotiate, and like
Mm,
you always very, very driven people as a whole. Very motivated, driven. Typically with the culture, it's like you're a Nigerian, but when you're a Nigerian, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, or you're a disgrace. Just pick one.
oh damn. I wasn't ready. I was not ready for that. Oh,
Disgrace.
so you are either top, you are either A tier or you're nothing. Oh my God.
I don't even want to embarrass myself and try to imitate my family because I'm so American with my voice. But yeah, that's what it's like. But yeah,
Oh
I'm just
Lord.
I'm very hungry, very, 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 very hungry. Um, I will admit sometimes whenever I'm at the stoplight and I see people with like homeless signs, and I'm just so grateful to like have a roof over my head, and I just never want that to be me. And it's just, tomorrow was not promised, and when I see these people, living these amazing lives, it's just kind of like, why can't I do that too? Why can't other people like me do it too and not apologize for it? So
Yeah.
I guess that's just the mindset I've had. It's never really changed since I was little. Always had big dreams and big goals. So big that sometimes, well, I'm not going to share it with everybody.
That's moving in silence. Is very important, especially in our community. You
Sadly, but
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, you gotta keep some of your goals to yourself, but understand that other people can help you out along the way. So understanding how to, I don't know, communicate your ideas and
Yes.
your dreams successfully is definitely an important thing to learn. So with that said, what sort of pitfalls have you had to struggle through? I know we're talking about goals and and just innate culture that kind of pushes you through, but where have you has there been a time when you've fallen in the world of business? Um, and how did you get out of that? You know?
Hmm. Let me see. I'm growing and learning every day. I'm constantly growing and learning. Whenever you say in business, I will still say, when it comes to the business world in this aspect, I'm very much of a baby. However, I was very spoiled working for Apple. I I actually, random fact about myself is I worked for Apple since the very first iPhone before we even had apps on the App Store.
Oh wow.
And then whenever we had FaceTime, I remember whenever that, came out, I remember FaceTiming my friend and Steve Jobs walked by in the background. So that culture of like excellence and trial and error, I will say when I think about in the professional world, I started consulting whenever I worked for Apple just because there were certain customers, they were they didn't want to let me go for nothing. They were anyone that works for Apple probably knows what I'm talking about, where you have those customers that fall in love with you and they're very dependent because you have excellent service, any other job for that matter. But there were things that outside, whenever customers would come in from overseas and they would have certain business practices, I'm just kind of like, why are you doing it this way? Like your margins are very, very low. And also the consumer, the end, like the end who you're selling this to overseas, they're suffering because your prices are way too much. So that's what started for me. I will say there were opportunities that happened through that where for a government agency, they wanted me to build hundreds of custom computers for a government agency. However, ultimately, I turned that down just because the person who was in charge, he basically was making advances towards me and I wasn't comfortable and I didn't want to compromise myself for that. So different things that you experience as a woman. All money is not good money.
Yeah, of course. So actually, speaking of that, can you talk more about being a woman in business and sort of like the challenges associated with that, um, especially a woman of color at that? So.
Mm-hmm. I will definitely say there will be times that people question you just because of maybe what you look like or you are a woman and they expect you maybe not to say so much, or you have to say things in the nicest way as possible without being too aggressive. I will say that many times, like, yes, I know I am a Black woman. I don't even, for myself, I see myself as Roselyn. I don't see myself as any race or color or anything like that. I just want to get, I'm not gonna curse, but I want to just get stuff done. Like my I want to get work done. I don't care, what many opinions people have to say, because people are always gonna have an opinion, but I kind of just ignore the noise. And I'm just like, I'll be in the sun. You can take that little cloud and you can go over there. That's usually my mindset when it comes down to things like that. I don't really pay attention to color. Obviously, like I see it, but when it comes down to me as a woman and people have their opinions of me, I'm going to prove you wrong. That's just really me. Even down when there was a time I was pre-med, I did study biochemistry. That is my background. I remember there was a professor. I will never forget him. I'm wondering if I should say his name. But I will say there was a professor. I never not once had a good encounter with him. Every time I saw him, when I first went to the school, I remember I was applying for a scholarship and he and another doctor, they both were speaking to me, and this man showed up late into our appointment that was had with me. And in front of me, he had no fear. Like he just did not care. He was telling this woman every reason why I shouldn't get a scholarship. Never ever seen this man, leaving your face. I see your face. Never seen this man, encountered this man ever. And I'm just like, he's horrible. But I hope I never have to see him again. And then later, I remember my senior year, my last semester that I had to graduate, I remember he was my professor for one of my classes. Well, I was getting ready to almost graduate. And let's just say that I've never failed a class before. And this man failed me twice. Now, normally whenever you study, it's just kind of like, okay, let me talk to the teacher. What did I do wrong? This man had nothing to do with me, even to the point where whenever I would talk to him and applications I had filed, I later saw them on the floor next to the trash can in his office.
What?
And
so even
whenever
office hours, he was worthless to you.
Oh my goodness, I saw my applications next to the trash, like as I was leaving, trying to talk to him about why he failed me for another grade. And I'll never forget whenever he was passing back grades, because by the third time you take a class, you already know I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get it right. And I remember, students at the time were using my work as reference because they loved it so much. And I'm like, oh, I know, I took this class. And he was passing back grades. And I remember, C's and B's. And I'm thinking, they all they half did their work. By the time I got my grade back, guess what that grade was?
An F.
It was a 41.
Yeah, an F. That's so disrespectful.
It was a 41. And it's kind of like, I just had enough. And I went to his office, and I will never forget that man looking me straight in his eyes in the office. He did not care if I graduated. He did not care. He didn't want me to graduate.
So he was actively trying to make sure you weren't going to pass this course. at all.
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
any,
He
yeah.
definitely, yeah, he definitely messed up my GPA for sure. And I even remember scholarships in school. I was the only, Black girl studying like biochemistry, very like two people, I think it was like two or three people um, in my classes. And I remember applying for scholarships and young boys, they would say, oh, he gave me the scholarship and I didn't even apply for it. I didn't even apply for it. Just
Wow.
giving out money. So I've definitely encountered like, there are people that will go out of the way to make sure you don't succeed. Joke's on you, but okay.
True. True.
Those are some of the obstacles that I'm really thinking about, because there are many times where you're like, dang it, is all of this like what I'm trying to do? Is it worth it?
I definitely get those thoughts. Shoot, even in my political party, right? Like I face a lot of adversity as a black man just in that kind of space. So I'm oftentimes trying to be silenced, or I'm oftentimes subject to the stereotype of the angry black man. Even in
Mm,
academia, that happens, and so people kind of block my path in that, and so it gets real. I can see some similarities, especially for women, and especially women of color at that, um, who have people in positions of power that don't want to see them win and will actively block them from seeing them win. So
yeah,
having that level of tenacity and that level of perseverance, it's respectable. It's beyond respectable.
thank you. Too many stories. Too
Oh
many
man.
stories I will spare. I'm just happy that I'm alive. And I know when I think about Steve Jobs and those quotes, putting a dent in the universe, I just feel like with Bolanle and other organizations that we're going to partner with, that we are partnering with, like this is the way that I can make a dent in the universe. I can leave a legacy behind, something bigger than myself.
That's real. But that said, I wonder, what advice do you have for other women of color starting their own businesses or getting involved in the corporate world, even academia at that?
What's your why?
Mm.
As simple as that sounds, what's your why? Um, Regardless of what color you have, but even for women of color, since we're speaking of that specifically, knowing what your why is, and don't let anyone's or opinions. Wait, let me go back to opinions for a second. No one's opinions matters. It really doesn't. You can value the information that you're given. You can take it with a grain of salt, but stay focused and have tunnel vision and look for inspiration and surround yourself with other people who inspire you. And I know when we talk about in the beginning, when we spoke about the mindset and we spoke about, you can have all these dreams and goals to do all these sorts of things, but if your mind is not right, your surroundings, it's very, very, very important of who you spend your time with. So if you have friends that are around you that are want to be at the club, let's say all the time, or they're into gossip or whatever that's not constructive, try to minimize that,
Yes.
because eventually, next thing you know, a year goes by, 5 years goes by, 10 years goes by, and you're in the same situation that you were yesterday. So it's always best to be around people that challenge you and inspire you. And whenever I say inspire you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have an abundance of money, but mindset is very important. So it's great to always have a diverse group of friends, which keeps you well rounded. That's my opinion.
I think that's strong advice. A lot of I know I see that pitfall a lot where people fall into different crowds of people who aren't really dedicated or to their own selves or motivated to do anything um above and beyond. And like they say, if you have five friends who are all doing the same thing, you're going to be the sixth one.
Yeah,
it, your friend group says speaks volumes about the person that you choose to be in this world, about the person that you see yourself as, and about the motivations you have in your life. Um,
you're right.
there's no better advice that I could honestly even give, and that even goes as deep as far as financial advice. I run a finance platform. We got to talk about finances a little bit. So, um, who you surround yourself with will ultimately determine who you choose to be. And if you can be that person who uplifts an entire friend group, if you have that kind of power in you, then more power to you, because now you're creating an environment for you're not only yourself to grow, but other people to grow. But that's very rare, right? The average person, it's not to say we're followers, but we like our packs. We like our packs. And
Yeah.
if our packs aren't taking us anywhere, we're not going to go far. We're not going to go anywhere.
You just reminded me of something too, because, we like our packs because it makes us feel comfortable. And we have to learn how to get uncomfortable. Otherwise, like, we won't grow. So I will say, I'll give you an example. Back a few years ago here in Houston, when we had Hurricane Harvey, I lost everything. I lost my apartment, I lost my car, like I lost my job. I lost many, many things. And I learned a lot of, I think that experience, I don't know which hurt more, the material stuff, which didn't really matter, but it was really the relationships with people I thought I can call when I needed help. When I needed help, even just to be rescued. I later got apologies, but you know how life works when you're doing better.
No, let's talk about that though. Like, because fake friends and fake people are always around, right? They're always around when you don't need them, but when they need you. But when it comes down to when you're down and out, where are these people at?
Yeah.
Are they still leeching from you? Are they there for you? I would like you to talk more on that, because it's a very important subject as well when we talk about friend groups and packs and all that.
Yeah. I will admit, I will say sometimes I'm pretty prideful because I don't like asking for help. And if someone needs me, or if you ever called me at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm usually that friend that it's just like, what you need? Is everything okay? Like, I got you. So in reverse, it did make me feel some sort of way. It made me feel some sort of way. I don't want to say it made me more just like guarded into myself, but I just know that like I have to like, this may be kind of sad, but this was what I experienced and how I felt in that moment. It's almost like if I feel like I don't have help from people, I have to take care of myself, because who's going to take care of me? That's kind of like a survival mode, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but you got to be your own safety net too. That's
Yes.
very much important to say, because we're always taught by society, you should be able to depend on your friends. And don't get me wrong, you should be able to, but at the end of the day, you should be able to hold your own.
You should be able to hold your own. But
You have to.
sometimes, for example, when you think about this pandemic and so many things have happened, where many people that they didn't need help, and now, or they're always one giving help, and now like this situation, so many things happen, and look at all these different people that are waiting in line for food, and they used to be the ones giving out food.
True. Very true.
Sometimes everybody needs a little assistance and a helping hand.
I think that's where it comes down to, we need to embrace being human more in our society, but that's a whole nother topic, as far as things go. But yeah, uh, as someone who always has their self, where do you see yourself in Bolanle in the next 10 years, for example?
Man, I see so many people. Well, where do I see myself? Too many things to put and to like say out loud. But ultimately, what I would love to see are development projects back in Africa, in multiple countries, where we'll be able to, just like we have many goods made in China, we're going to have many goods made in Africa. We'll have job creation, we'll have other innovations, and we can support Black Africa and Black America, Black and Brown, I should say. But I think it's ultimately, I want to see that. I want to see a lot of development, and any sort of organizations and groups that we can work with, we can help with that.
I think that's very much powerful. Again, we don't see many people getting into this business space and shaking things up, and paving a way for others in our community to make a better way. When we do see that, we're seeing people up at the top, and we're not seeing people work together, who are the majority of the community. So this is a very powerful movement you're starting. I can't wait to see where it goes, to be honest.
I will say one thing without interrupting you. I'm super excited because we will be able to offer, well, in the state of Texas right now, we will be able to offer free, certified like help from a professional. They can see somebody a couple times a month at no additional cost. And I feel like, again, when we talked about the mindset, the mindset, that is huge. So everything starts from there. So mental health is very important to me. I lost a very close family member, my brother, he took his life. Also my mother, we have other mental health issues that go on within our family and other communities. So I think that that's a huge step, and I'm really excited. People will know about it obviously very soon because of this interview.
This was a very beautiful interview. There's no other way I could describe it. I honestly wasn't ready for those responses. Like
Really?
that was so real. Yeah, no, I was not ready at all. Like you blew me away today. I really
Oh,
do expect to see you winning, and I really do expect you to see. I expect you're already on the Forbes Business Council, all right? I expect to see you winning. I expect, but in the next 10 years, I swear to God, if you are not named one of by Forbes is like one of the top 10 most influential women in business, I swear I'm gonna be so surprised.
oh, thank you. I'm honored that you said that. That was a nice surprise. I was not expecting that, and I'm so honored, and it just makes me want to work harder. No pressure.
No pressure at all. No pressure at all. Just make it happen. Like our community definitely needs more people like this. Uh, I really look forward to hosting more talks, potentially with others from Bolanle in the future, or with
I think it's going to
whoever.
be great. I think it's going to be great. I think I see you with me, and we'll be surprising people with nice checks to help further their mission and cause.
That would be beautiful. I'm always with it. I'm always here. I'm always available. But yeah.
Nice.
All right. So I'm gonna end it there.
Mhm.
If anyone watching this has any questions for Rose, please don't hesitate to hit up Little Liberty or even Bolanle or even the Omaka agency. Please check her out. Check out all her work. She's amazing. Is there any last words you have?
No, I just want to say thank you. And I'm excited to work with you. And definitely, we have a lot of stuff. So we're going to do some more stuff together. So, yes.
I'm always with it.